and welcome back to Read It, Watch It, the podcast about books, movies, and everything in between. Today's topic is a little bit dramatic, or maybe I'm just dramatic, because today I'm asking, whatever happened to rom-coms? Are they dead? What happened to the rom-coms? The good thing is I'm not discussing this alone. I have someone with me that's going to walk through the spiral of whatever happened to rom-coms. Today I have Mutaraya, yes. So yes, this episode is truly about rom-coms. We're just trying to talk about whatever happened to rom-coms. I feel like rom-coms used to be the genre back in the day where everybody just wanted and you looked forward to it, right? But now it's whatever happened? Yeah. Well, what happened to rom-coms?
You know what? I think there's a few things that I think happened, but the era of rom-com specifically that I'm going to talk about is the early 2000s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because that was when I was really watching them. That was when I was getting to I would say around the age of 12-ish to 16.
Okay.
Don't worry about my date of birth.
All right. Okay. Before we talk about the era of when you used to watch rom-coms, I need to ask first: are you for or against rom-coms?
Oh, I am for the rom-coms I grew up watching.
Okay.
I am not for the rom-coms of today, so I know I'm part of the problem. I do know I'm part of the problem.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough answer. So you are for rom-coms. All right. Yeah. So now that you brought it up, let us talk about the golden era of rom-coms, like the oldies, right? So we're talking the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. I feel like that was the best era for rom-coms because I am also for rom-coms in a way.
And you watch rom-coms from the 70s and 80s?
There's some of them that I went back to watch, because you've heard about it and you're like, oh, okay, let me go see what this is about.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, don't you think?
Yeah, but you know
when you hear of the Audrey Hepburn movie.
Now that I'm not going to watch none of that. That's not
even 70s. That's even way before. You haven't watched any Audrey Hepburn.
Guys, I'm sorry, I'm not that cultured. If it's in black and white, if they're speaking in a funny way or in a funny accent, I'm not watching that. I'm talking early 2000s.
Okay, fine. We're not going back as far back as
you
Audrey
can represent
No worries. Because the actual era, I'm calling the golden era, is from the 70s-ish down to, I would say,
are those Y2K or are those romance movies?
No.
Because I'm talking about romantic comedies.
I agree. Yes, this is about romantic comedies, and I had to be specific because they are just romantic dramas, right? So not romantic dramas, let's say actual rom-coms.
Yeah, because I'm not talking The Notebook. That's not funny.
I know.
Nothing was
yes,
funny.
That's a movie about love. That's romance, but this is actual rom-com. So when you think of those rom-coms from the oldies, what comes to mind for you? Because I have a list. I always have a list.
I do have a list too, but you know what? I actually think more in terms of the actors who had a long run of doing rom-coms in the early 2000s.
Yeah, we could do actors.
So we're thinking Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton?
Yes. Guess Who? Was the movie with himself, Zoe Saldana.
But that's kind of new though.
That's 2008.
So that's not oldies. I'm talking.
So here's the thing. Now, why 80s, are you watching? 90s. They weren't laughing about anything in the 80s and 90s. Ain't no way.
Okay, maybe not. Let's not go far back to 80s, 90s. You don't remember anything from the 90s.
You tell me what you remember.
Okay, so let me go through my list because, babe, I'm once I say them, I'm pretty sure you remember. All right.
Let's see.
Okay, so for me, movies from early, the 90s, kind of very early 2000s, so Notting Hill.
That's not a comedy. There was nothing funny. That's not a com. It's a rom. No com. See why I didn't say stuff like Notting Hill, which I love, by the way. She's going to say Pretty Woman next, and I'm going to switch off.
I'm going to say Pretty Woman because
there's nothing funny about that.
Yeah, oh my God, Pretty Woman. Don't even go there. Anyways, Pretty Woman, Runaway Bride, Two Can Play That Game.
Period. That was hilarious.
Yes.
Okay.
My Best Friend's Wedding.
Okay.
Yes.
And these are 90s? Damn.
I think
90s.
So. Well, just very early Y2K movies. So I don't want anything before 2010, kind of, right? So these are
after 2000. You don't want anything after 2010.
Yeah. So when I'm grouping the oldies, I'm saying anything before 2010.
Yeah, like, and you know what? I'll give you my list after, and mine are all 2000s. So I'm liking your list. Go on. All you know what? Why didn't I think about To Complete That Game?
To Complete That Game. It's like 1996 or something.
And
I don't know.
Outfits, by the way.
Yeah. So any movie by J-Lo.
Oh, yeah. Made in Manhattan.
Made in Manhattan, exactly.
The Wedding Planner.
Yes, exactly. So those movies.
So, but do you see what I mean by some people have had a specific rom-com run?
Exactly.
And why I mentioned Ashton Kutcher, I didn't even say Matthew McConaughey. They had a specific
but I thought Matthew's kind of newer, so that's why I didn't put him there. But I'm saying like, so these sort of actors for me, then Richard Gere. Any Richard Gere movie then, because he was the rom-com guy. So I couldn't wait to see. So he was in Runaway Bride, he was in Pretty Woman, and it was him and Julia Roberts. So that was like, oh my gosh. And then Tom Hanks, because he did Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
and to mention that Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan had a thing. Yes.
RomCom Queen. I think she did You've Got Mail.
You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally.
Oh,
she was that girl.
Yeah.
So those are sort of the movies I think about when I think rom-coms from like the oldies. And of course, like my favorite is Pretty Woman. So
you know what? Let me give you my list because I don't even feel like, I feel like some of your, they are not funny. They're not funny. Now I'm thinking things more like, let's see, Hitch, which was Will Smith and Eva Mendes.
Yes.
2005.
Okay.
Right?
I still kind of find it to be really new. I don't know. Maybe the actors that are making it seem really new to me.
It's just that, I mean, they're 20 years old. That's 20 years old.
I'm just 20.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, okay, we say Matthew McConaughey. We're saying How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, 2003.
To be fair. Okay,
that's a while ago.
Okay, we can take
And then we had Amanda Bynes had her era, What a Girl Wants, She's the Man, 2003, 2006. Matthew again, Failure to Launch, 2006. Yeah. 13 Going on 30 to me is a rom-com. That's 2004.
Isn't that more like a coming of age?
I knew you were going to say that, but it was funnier than Pretty Woman.
Oh my gosh, don't even, that's blasphemy.
Going on 30?
That's blasphemy. Nothing's funnier than Pretty Woman. Nothing is funnier than Pretty Woman. You definitely need to, because it was funny. It literally is a rom-com. Like, I didn't even make this up. It is a rom-com.
Okay.
It is. Okay. But yeah, so.
But then also we've got stuff like He's Just Not That Into You, 2009 though. So I know that's getting a bit too recent for you.
Recent, yeah.
But then we've got The Wedding Planner we mentioned, 2001, 27 Dresses, 2008.
Oh, I love that one.
That one I've seen multiple times. Then we've got What Happens in Vegas. I don't know if you ever saw that. Ashton Kutcher and I believe Cameron Diaz.
Yes.
Ashton Kutcher had a run and then Just Married. True. Ashton Kutcher and Brittany Murphy.
True.
Bro. And then let me mention one that I don't think you would have watched. And this is 2006. It's a boy-girl thing.
I feel like I've... Who is it?
It's this movie about the American high school.
In it? Who's
Kevin Zegers and this girl from Dirty Sexy Money.
It sounds very familiar.
So let me tell you about it. It's about two neighbors, a boy and a girl. The girl is obviously not popular. She's a nerd. And then the boy, and then one night they switch bodies.
Yes.
She wakes up in his body. When I tell you, I scratched that movie. I don't know if we had the DVD. I think I scratched it.
Okay, so I think the reason why a lot of those things, some like stuff like that, and that why I wouldn't have counted Amanda Bynes is because they were more like high school style movies. So I didn't necessarily. So for me, it's like it's not the rom-coms. Like I'm talking about
You're talking about grown.
Yes, I grown stuff, like adult stuff, not like the kiddie style. But that's a very good list. Anyways, like I again, I'm still more like oldies being like, you know 70s, what?
She can rep the oldies. 90s. I wouldn't know anything about that because I'm part of the youth. I'm young. So I'm going to rep the early 2000s rom-coms.
Okay, fine. Because now that we said some of the oldies and the list, because now we have to do the newer school style rom-coms. And now that, like, so if you say stuff with like Ashton Kutcher, like, what would now be considered new era? Because I definitely feel like there's a difference. There's a difference between what Notting Hill was or what Pretty Woman was and what we have now. So I have a list, of course, of like the newer style things. Okay, do you want to tell me your list? Because do you know something I feel about the newer style things? I feel like because they are coming up on different streaming services, you and I cannot even align on what new age rom-coms we've seen. Because maybe you're watching stuff on Prime and I'm watching stuff on Netflix. Sure.
The truth is, I don't know the new rom-coms because it's not like we're going to the cinema to see them.
That's true. That's another issue.
Which we can get deeper into later.
But, so I started thinking of my newer stuff from like 2009-ish.
That means it's going to be some stuff on my list.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So for me,
let's hear
probably
it.
for like, even maybe 2005, but still. So like my very first one.
I wouldn't know. You guys know I'm young. So
my very first one is The Proposal. I love The Proposal.
Oh my God. But
it's a rom-com. Don't even go there.
I don't know why I didn't have any Sandra Bullock because that's a rom-com queen.
There you go. So you have to say, I feel like it's newer.
I swear The Proposal has to be like,
yes, it is old.
Maybe like 2010.
No, I think it was.
Did you check?
I think it was 2009, but still, it's still so cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's newer. I'm sorry. I love it, but I can't put it with like Pretty Woman because Pretty Woman is so much. Pretty Woman predates me, so it's like
predates you.
It predates me.
She's watching black and white stuff.
So The Proposal, Channing Tatum in The Vow. I feel like that's new, but is it a rom-com? The Vow, I don't know. I had a hard time because like maybe it's not a rom-com because it was a little sad. Tell me what
The Vow is about.
So it was this one where he was to be fair, it's not a rom-com. Now I think about
it. Is it with Amanda Seyfried?
Yes, it was sad.
It's not a rom-com. Funny. Guys, I think we should go with my definition of rom-com. It's romantic and we are laughing. Look at what happened in H, where he ate something he was allergic to. And
yeah, you're right. Okay, The Vow is definitely not a rom-com.
Damn, don't even take every Nicholas Sparks off your list because
no. I don't have a lot of Nicholas Sparks, of course. But so The Proposal is one that I had.
Hilarious.
Anyone But You, I feel like is really new.
Wasn't that new?
Yes,
I didn't watch that.
It was new. Then Red, White, and Blue.
Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Red, White,
you know,
and
I didn't
Blue.
watch it, but I know what it's about.
Yes. Then the one with what's her name? We love her. The lady from Les Mis. What's her name?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. Yes. That she was with the younger guy.
For you to remember Les Mis and not The Devil Wears Prada.
I know. Devil Wears Prada was in my head.
I watched that one.
Yes.
we love a decent age gap relationship, okay? Yes. In the sense that the younger party should be of a good age. But that was what was that called? I love that movie.
Yes. I can't remember. I can't anyways.
With Nicholas Galitzine. I hope I'm saying that right.
I can't believe it's escaping me right now. But that, and then Think Like a Man is one that I was like, okay, it's new. And so that was really good.
That was very, and you know what? I love the black ones, the ones with the black people, I'm sorry to say, are more of even the com than the rom, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When it's the white people, it's more of the and maybe that's why I'm not finding some of your picks to be romantic comedies. Okay. Because I feel like when the cast is white, they focus more on the romance than the comedy.
All right,
that's actually a way I make a distinction.
Oh yeah, it's like those are some of the newer. Because again, there's a lot more, but I can't like list everything.
Okay, let me tell you one that I've seen on Prime. Your Christmas or Mine. Have you seen that?
No, it sounds.
And it even has 2 parts. Your Christmas or Mine or Your Christmas or Mine too. I watched that on Prime. I always talk about that movie. Nobody else has seen it, I think that's a problem.
Is it Emma? What's her name's in there? No. No.
It's Asa Butterfield.
No, okay.
From Sex Education.
No.
You've even Sex Education gone. You've not even seen that one. Oh
I have a T-shirt of Sex Education. Don't even go
okay, there. Please don't play. She loves Sex Education.
Okay. What else? Because there's a lot, like you said, with the streaming services. So it's just the newer age ones. It's hard to pick because
you know something. You can't even retain their names.
You can't even. I agree with you. So it's kind of hard.
I'm thinking them in my head, but now I have to be telling you the actors. I can't even retain the names.
I agree. So there you go. It's like, and I think that brings us to like what the difference is between these old ones and the new ones. And I think you already touched on it, which is like the fact that we have streaming platforms and that's how we're consuming a lot of this content. It's part of why we're not even able to agree on, have you seen this, have you seen that? Because there's a lot out there, but we're not being like the old ones, for instance, they had theatrical releases. Oh, yes. You had to go to the cinema to see them or get them on DVD or whatever format
it was an entire culture to consume a rom-com back in the day.
Exactly. But now it's like...
But now... You're just sitting in your house watching whatever you're watching on whatever streamer you paid for. And I'm watching what I'm watching on whatever streamer I pay for. I'm not going to pay for your streamer to watch what you watched.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that means we are consuming completely different things. But back in the day, when Pretty Woman was out, it was probably maybe the only rom-com out in the cinema at that time, or maybe one of two. Guess what? You're going to the cinema, you're either watching Pretty Woman or something else.
Sure.
That made sure that all of us watched the same movies. But now there's just so much out there due to streamers, and this isn't a criticism on streamers. It's just saying that there's so much content for us to consume now that there's no way we're all watching the same things anymore.
Exactly.
So that cultural moment of, and I think this has affected rom-coms. Back then, rom-coms used to be this cultural movement of everybody has seen XYZ.
Yeah. We've all seen
we're
it.
We're all in our
now,
homes watching whatever now. And guess what? The rom-coms are not getting that many like theatrical releases.
True.
They're all coming out on streamers.
True. And that's another thing. So that, and I think that just brings me to my next question, which is like, what do you think changed? Like I think we've probably answered it. Like what makes it so different? Like why are we able to differentiate between the oldies and the newies?
You know what? I think it's just the change in life in general. When we were growing up, we've already mentioned the streamers. There were no streaming services. We were going to the cinema to see these things or waiting for them to come out on DSTV. That's different for those of us in Nigeria. But I also think studio greed. A lot of the studios switched over to bankrolling franchises like Avengers, superhero movies, action movies, movies that will bring in a lot of money, and nobody wanted to drop 5 million for a rom-com anymore. And I wonder why. I don't have the statistics on why that's the case.
Right. Okay.
But I think the studios are not bankrolling the rom-coms the way they were bankrolling them when we were younger. That's one of my points.
That's fair enough. Me, I think the major part, like we already sort of touched on, is because we have streaming platforms now that don't make every movie release theatrical. So it's like a double-edged sword where it's like we now all have access, but it's now way too much access where nothing is now important enough for everyone to see it. So it's if you want to, you do. If you don't have to, kind of thing. So I think that's like one of the major things. And honestly, for me, more than just like having whether it's a theatrical release versus like a streaming release, it's, I think just as a society, I feel like maybe we're now too woke for rom-coms, because notice what we just said. There were some of the newer ones that we're trying to figure out. We couldn't even remember the names. We remember some of the actors, but like some of these things aren't even staying with us. Like I can tell you the whole plot of Pretty Woman that I watched when I was like a baby.
Yeah, I've seen it once.
Do you know what I mean? And I can tell you, but there's so many ones that I've watched lately that I'm like, you can't even like place it too much. I don't know how to put, but I feel like as a society, we might just be too woke for rom-coms now, because I think what the oldies did best was sell us this sort of fantasy. And I'm sorry to say, I like that fantasy. Like, I think that's what the idea of romance is, just being able to be in this world where everything just seems perfect. But we're now, as a society, more emotionally evolved, where you watch a rom-com and the first thing is like, why is he like that? Oh, he's toxic. Like, you start dissecting it so much that like, now would you now blame studios for not wanting to finance things that people are going to pick apart the moment it happens? Do you get what I mean? Like, if you look at, if they were to remake Pretty Woman now, it will be cancelled the moment it's released.
They'll call her a sex worker.
Yes, she was a sex worker, but like it would be worse than it would get so much flack. But it's still one of my favorite movies ever. Not because it was a fantastic movie, but
it was made at the right time.
Yeah.
So a lot of these rom-coms that we watch, they were made at a time where that could fly.
Exactly.
A lot will not fly. And to add on to what you're talking about, do you think that because the dating scene looks so different today, it's hard to go and watch a movie, a rom-com, and then you walk back out into the world and nothing like what you saw in that rom-com is happening? So I think, especially because rom-coms are mostly marketed to women, let's be honest.
Yeah,
I think a lot of women have become disillusioned with what dating and romance is. So if you watch a rom-com and you go out there into the world and you know that nothing you saw in that movie is ever going to happen, because the time for that kind of chivalry, for that kind of romance has kind of passed.
I agree. You're absolutely right. I think
the dating scene doesn't look anything like the movies we grew up watching.
Precisely.
So do you think rom-coms have failed to kind of adapt to what modern dating is?
No, the funny thing is they are trying to do that. Oh, let's evolve and capture what romance is now. Like, there are some of those movies where they start, the idea of the plot is around, we met on a dating app, and because for instance, like, we have an influx of dating apps. That's something that
if I see a movie where they met on a dating app and
there's movies like that. There's movies like that. Absolutely. There's this one, Fuck, Marry, Kill or something. And I think she was finding people.
The name of the movie. Even the name of the movie is pissing me off.
Do you see what I mean? So like with dating apps and stuff, there's that part where we're no longer even looking for meet cutes. We're not thinking we're going to meet the love of our lives in the grocery aisle. So
you're gonna buy your groceries, you're gonna pay and leave.
Right.
And go back home to sit on your
but that's what the oldies were like, oh, we just met like a coffee store, this, that, but now it's like on the apps trying to scroll.
Yeah.
So things like that have truly changed.
I love that. So it's not even the death of the rom-com, it's the death of the meet cute in real life. So when you're watching that stuff on screen, it's almost like I said, you're disillusioned. Like, who cares about what you saw on screen? Nothing like that is ever going to happen in your real life.
Right, because now you know for a fact, like, you're never meeting anyone outside. If you're not, that's the truth. Like, if you're not on any social media app or if you're not on the dating sites, you're gonna die alone. Literally. Like,
so yes. Why are you watching people be happy in a movie? Precisely.
So I think that's what's changed, that's making rom-coms sort of decline and sort of fail in a way. Not because we don't still want fantasy. We do, but when the fantasy cannot be sold, when, like you said, once you leave the theater, it's you're scrolling on an app. You cannot be sold on what this person is telling you that is happening or that could possibly happen to you. That for me is what I think like has really made the difference between watching the old ones and watching the new ones, which is why I still sort of gravitate and watch the old ones, honestly.
Yeah, the ones I grew up watching. And do you know the thing? And I have a question for you, because the old ones, mine from the early 2000s, I think they informed my idea of dating and how to choose men and how to find a good person, right? Do you think those rom-coms existed because that's what the dating scene was at the time? Or do you think the dating scene was what it was at the time because those rom-coms existed? Which one was feeding the other?
That's a good question. It's like chicken or the egg, because but then again, like, we can fairly say that back in those days, they didn't have anything like a dating app. So...
Or it wasn't as prevalent, I think. They had plenty of fish, girl. I heard.
No, when there was Pretty Woman, there wasn't plenty.
I keep forgetting she's talking about 40 years ago. I'm sorry. There was no internet.
Exactly my point. So
that's
the
true.
dating
You
thing
had to meet people.
You had to actually go out and meet people. So of course it would be different. Now it's like, you are telling me I don't have to step outside of my house before I can meet someone potentially? Are you kidding? Yeah. But when you're forced, like when you knew back then, like if I want to get married, I need to go out of my comfort zone. That's what you needed to do. But now you're telling people that all they have to do is download this app for $0 and meet singles. Girl, it's definitely different. So that's the day. Yeah, it is. Like that's what it is. It changes everything. There was effort that was required before now. Now there's like, you need minimal to no effort to meet people in theory, right? And I think what made those rom-coms in the olden days also like be more successful, in my opinion, is that that effort part is like, once, because you know you put in effort to go out to meet this person, you kind of cherish the relationship a bit more, as opposed to now where it's like, I only was swiping anyways. Like, you don't necessarily, because there was no effort put into trying to, in this case, like meet someone or really be dedicated or determined to do something. We're very fickle now, which is why like relationships can end super quickly, because in your mind, I can find someone else by the swipe of an app. That sort of thing. So I think the situation we're in now, being in this world where things are coming in quote a little bit easier, even though it's not easy, but it's a bit easier now to meet people, especially on like a global scale. It's changing how romance is also viewed in theaters and in cinema. That's just how I feel. Definitely don't want to shit on the newbies all the time, because I feel like from the early 2000s, we do have good ones, right? Especially the ones that did get the theatrical release, like The Proposal, like you said, the Will Smith one, was it Hitch? Right, I was going to say Click. That's someone else.
Damn,
but
that's a sad
Hitch. But yeah, so we do have some of those ones that are like, Think Like a Man was really cute. That was really, really good.
Yeah, very, very funny.
It was funny. So there were some really good ones, but I feel like where we're missing the plot is with the streaming ones, honestly.
Yeah, they're no longer talking like people. Just be a normal person who is falling in love. But then do you think this generation, they haven't even fallen in love enough to know how to act it?
Damn. Okay.
Just saying. Like,
I was just thinking that
person.
The emotional literacy we all claim to have now has just replaced the romantic fantasy. That's what I was thinking, because everyone now,
unfortunate bad emotional literacy, in the sense that nothing like a meet cute anymore, because you might meet cute a strangler.
it's a part where like an 18-year-old feels like they know so much now. They're so in touch with themselves. Oh, they know who's neurodivergent. They know who is this. They know who is that. Like everybody thinks they know so much.
Yeah, I think as a society, the rom-com, part of why the rom-com is suffering is we talk too much, we know too much.
Right.
It's good for us to know the things such as, I'm happy with the way a lot of discourse around like sexual assault, for example, that's very important. But then along with that kind of discourse that is important, a lot of unimportant things have also been brought to the surface. And I feel like I get what you mean about us being more woke now. And I don't mean woke to injustice or to bad behavior or to criminal behavior that we should be talking about. I feel like we analyze everything.
Exactly. That really
to the point where we analyze it to death.
Yeah.
And the rom-coms cannot survive in an environment.
Exactly.
Like, what do you think now? We saw a clip from Notting Hill. Analyze that and criticize that in the lens of today. What would have been wrong with that? A celebrity would never meet a bookshop clerk, whatever he is. She would have never met that guy in real life.
Exactly.
Let's be honest.
To be fair. So that's exactly what it is. Like our wokeness has really taken over the romantic fantasy that we typically have.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so we're done with that segment. Let's move on to books. I mean, this is RiWiPod. It's a podcast about books, movies, and everything in between. So in true RiWi fashion, we have to talk about the books because I feel like romance as a genre in books is still thriving. Let's not even lie. Like that is why I really want to like take this over to. There's like, I think it's still one of the most like they shell out best-selling romance novels every single year. That's where this genre is still alive. What do you like romance novels?
Depends on what you call romance, because if you're
now we don't. Okay, so now we're going to what's romance novels? Really?
Okay, so
Romcoms.
The thing is, rom-com as a novel, can't remember very many that I've read. But if you're talking about growing up reading like the Danielle Steeles, the Nora Roberts, the sort of safe romance. But then you guys were also reading Harlequin and Mills and Boons, and that's a different type of romance that I didn't read.
True.
But to be honest, do you know the thing? Those authors are so rich. They publish multiple books a year.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's the authors. I think it's the readers. The romance readers are different from watchers.
Exactly. And there's a reason for that, because there's a safety that books give you. There's a safety that you're able to have those characters exactly as your mind has brought them to life, that it remains with the book. And that's something films can't do. Films have to sell you the chemistry. Once a viewer cannot see the chemistry between the actors, you've lost that viewer. But a book can never lose a reader in like the chemistry,
because you have to bring a lot of your own imagination into play, so you can leave the real world when you're reading a book. But when you're watching a movie or TV show, and here's the thing, authors also, I'll give the authors credit for this, they don't feel the need to adjust their stories to the current reality. The truth is, as a writer, and I'm a writer myself, we write what we want to write. I don't care if people are struggling to date these days. When I want to write my own book, I'm going to write it that the romance is easy, it's fun, it feels real. But when you're producing I feel like on-screen content has a higher expectation to answer to reality than books do.
Exactly.
It makes it easier for the authors and for the readers.
True. Yeah, so the authors know that, precisely what you said, the authors know that the readers are here for the fantasy, so they don't have to adjust.
They don't have to think about real life.
They don't have to think of, they don't have to think about, do I have to make this a dating app sort of meet cute? No, they're able to still keep it true to the fantasy that they know readers want, and that's what's to making it sell. And unfortunately, I feel like cinema just can't catch up with that situation. Like authors have, they already have their fan base. They already know that this is what I need to do. Pretty much like a rinse and repeat. And unfortunately, with theaters selling what's on script, what's on paper to people, like it has to be 10 times more than reading a book. So, and of course, that's what's failing. So where cinema is sort of failing with rom-coms, books are still thriving. Like it's only 3 months into the year, and I can say I've read a couple rom-coms already. Yeah, and it's not even on purpose, but still, I'm just like, oh, Emily Harry has a new one out, and then like, you just go and you.
Oh, are you on Libby? She's on Libby clearing. She's cleaning Libby out.
So Emily Henry, Ali Hazelwood, they're always coming up with something new every single time. So it's easy to just gravitate towards those people, and just like, honestly, they're easy reads. it just keeps, it's so safe.
Yeah.
You can just do one and you're like, oh, okay, that was cute. All right, next one. You see what I mean? So
there's a heavier expectation when it's screen content than a book.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
True. There's one thing I do want to touch on because another thing that in doing this episode, just thinking about the difference between the old ones and the new ones. And I think you said this before, how like rom-coms and why they're dead now is because the actors don't want to do rom-coms.
There is this sort of idea that if you want to be the top of the top in the acting game, and I think more so for the men than the women, there's this idea that you cannot be somebody who is shelling out rom-coms, that you have to do hard-hitting stuff, that you have to do deep dramas, things that require you as an actor to go to a very emotional place, or to go to a very dark place, or to go to a very cool place and be a superhero and be the, or the villain, and be the baddest guy around. There's this idea that if you do a rom-com, you're not a good actor. And it can be seen in, like, I watched another podcast where Matthew McConaughey talked about how he had to transition from doing things like, was it Failure to Launch or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? Those were both him, right? And then I think he did Dallas Buyers Club, and how he had to make that sort of rom-com. But the transition from going from the rom-coms to that, he talked about how hard it was for him, and he had to turn down a lot of money to do rom-coms because he was the rom-com guy in the early 2000s. He was one of the rom-com guys, and it was a very hard transition for him to make. And it makes me want to ask, why did you need to make that transition? Why did you have to turn down millions and millions and not do rom-coms so that you can do stuff like Dallas Buyers Club? And there's this idea in that industry that when you're doing romance or comedy, then you combine them rom-com, you're not a good actor.
That's crazy to me because first of all, I didn't even know that was a thing, because when I think of rom-coms, I think of someone like Richard Gere, and he's such a good actor. Like, I would watch anything he's in. That's kind of how I am.
Because it's harder to be funny than to be anything else. When you see them winning awards for playing very dramatic, erratic, what do you call it? Just very weird, shouty characters, very dramatic, heavily dramatic characters. They get the Oscar for that.
Yeah, right? To be fair, rom-coms
they get the Oscar for that. But then I also feel like, do you know how hard it is to be funny? It's harder to be funny than to shout.
I agree. It's really hard to make people laugh. But and I can't believe that there's that sort of stigma with rom-com actors and not wanting to take up such roles because they don't want to be the rom-com guy. Because in my mind, like, Tom Hanks did rom-coms and he's literally one of the best actors ever in the world.
That came from an era where the studios were bankrolling rom-coms. Now they are not going to give you that much money for a rom-com. So therefore your rom-com might look
So is it about money, or is it about
so many things?
Being regarded as an actor that can do
that. It's about their own personal career growth. They're trying to do what they can for their careers.
Right.
Another thing is the money isn't in. I don't think the money is in rom-coms, because the lots of rom-coms I see these days look low budget. You can't compare it to an Avengers. You can't.
To be fair, yeah, and that's fair enough. But I still am finding it hard to just understand why rom-coms are not like actors are refusing or turning down rom-coms when we're seeing people being able to transition from rom-coms to do other things. Like I said, Tom Hanks did rom-coms and look at where he is now. Like you said, Matthew McConaughey, whatever he had to do, turning down. But point is, you can still, even the guy from Anyone But You, Glenn, what's his name? Yes.
I don't know who that man is.
Yes. He literally, like, he's like Hollywood's. He's doing so well now.
Yeah, but
he just did Running Man. Like, he's in so many things now. Like, he's doing so well. And this isn't his first rom-com. I think his first one was Set It Up. Or I think I might be wrong, but Set It Up.
Something like that.
It's a Netflix one as well. Yeah, and he's doing so well. Like, he's doing everything else.
But do you think
you should see him in Running Man.
Listen,
so
I have no doubt. You can't convince me that a rom-com. So you're telling me because Julia Roberts or I don't even want to get into all the Think Like a Man cast, because those people, a lot of them are comedians outside. But you can't convince me that those are bad actors.
They're not,
just because
exactly.
They're doing fun. But why I don't want to mention Taraji is the first movie I saw of Taraji's was Baby Boy, and that wasn't funny. That wasn't funny. So I knew she was a good actor. But I'm talking about the actors that they start out in rom-coms or comedies. I don't understand why that transition is so hard. But I also feel like actors of nowadays want to catapult themselves to the top of their careers. It's almost like, rather than working my way up from the rom-com to the more serious dramatic roles, let me go right for the dramatic roles. Okay. Let me get the Oscar before I turn 30.
Timothy
you guys
Chalamet.
have fun. Do the
Timothy
rom-coms.
Chalamet.
Because when you say that the rom-coms are dead, let me tell you what will resurrect a rom-com. If one of the top male actors going right now does a rom-com, it will sell out.
Absolutely.
Because the girls will go and watch it.
If Timothy did one, everyone
the gays
will
go and
watch it.
Exactly. So the idea that, you know, that's why I don't even believe rom-coms are dead. I feel like Hollywood has this weird idea of telling us that, oh, this won't make money. It's just like when they don't want to cast Black or Asian people, and they tell you that you won't make money. That's so funny, given how much Sinners made. Yeah. The idea that nobody wants to watch Black people, who came up with that? Then the idea that we don't want to watch rom-coms, who came up with that? I'm just asking that the rom-com be well written, don't be cringy. Research the old ones if you need to. Research, watch them and study them. But it's just like it has fallen off in so many different ways.
Yeah.
That if they don't even make rom-coms anymore, I almost don't mind, because you guys aren't making them like you used to. So maybe just don't make them.
And it's definitely an executive decision that we're seeing from the studios in terms of, I think people are trying to, like you said, they're more concerned about winning awards as opposed to actually entertaining or making money, because I'm pretty sure rom-coms will still make money. There's still a market for people. People still want that. We still want that fantasy. We still want to watch stuff like that, but it is what it is. So yeah, rom-coms are still alive, but I guess we're only now dealing with the reality of what romance looks like in this day and age.
Yeah.
So now, I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
Yes, because we're coming to the end of the episode.
Yes.
My first question: what is your favorite rom-com ever? If you had to pick one, your best rom-com movie.
You know what? I'm gonna pick two.
Okay.
A teen one and a grown one.
I asked for one. All right.
You know what? Let me do two.
Okay. Do two.
I love It's a Boy Girl thing because I scratched that DVD, but that was more of the teen sort of thing.
Yeah,
but we're talking about
romance.
Grown.
Yeah.
I'm happy you mentioned The Proposal, because I think that's the rom-com I've watched the most in life. But Betty White killed it. Sandra killed it. What's the name of that man?
Ryan
Reynolds killed it. Sorry, you guys, names skip my mind. I remember the girlies though, but you know, I feel like everybody was so funny, and there's something about rom-coms where it's like they all follow the same storyline. And to be honest, The Proposal is one storyline. I haven't seen one like that. I haven't seen one like that.
I agree with you, and that's why I actually like The Proposal, because
is that your favorite one?
Not my favorite, but one of my favorite ones, and I've seen multiple times. I mean, Ryan Reynolds. What more can I say? I love you. I love you. If you ever see this, I love you so much. That was my real
introduction to him, outside of Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He had done a couple more things before that. But anyways, you're really right. Like, it's one of those stories that we've never seen told a lot, because the dynamic was this sort of older lady, boss in the workplace kind of dynamic, and it's a bit frowned upon, right? But we saw it happen in an organic, beautiful way, and that's why I loved it, because it was a story that we never thought could work out, and I liked it. I loved just how it played out, and just seeing Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds together was just gorgeous. Sandra can do anything, as far as I'm concerned. She's amazing. Yeah. But my favorite would be Pretty Woman. I know it's sentimental, not because it's the best one. There's so many other good ones out there, but for me, it's just a sentimental thing.
It was a turning point in culture, let's be honest. Pretty Woman is a cultural moment.
I mean,
like, it changed something, and I don't even know what.
Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. I remember watching Runaway Bride after that, and I just wanted to keep seeing them in every rom-com after that. I'm like, yes, you guys are meant to be together. But that didn't happen. But Pretty Woman, because it really was one of those turning point things. Very iconic, very iconic.
It's one of the most talked about movies, I think. Exactly. If you ask someone to name 5 movies, I feel like Pretty Woman will be on there.
And for me, it's really a sentimental thing, because one of the first movies I ever watched with my mom. So exactly. So that's why it's just like one of my top favorite movies.
Does she still watch it?
I don't even know. I don't think
you should remind her.
I should remind her, but yeah, she probably doesn't hold the same sentiment that I do, because she probably doesn't remember that it's one of the first movies we ever watched. And I remember her always just like, Pretty Woman. She used to like sing the song. She would say, Pretty Woman. Yeah.
Modern mom.
Mommy. She liked the song, so that's why Pretty Woman would be my favorite one. I don't really care for the newbies, so let's not do that. So Pretty Woman. Anyways, okay, next question. What trope do you secretly love?
You know what? It's not a secret, and it's the trope from The Proposal anyway. Enemies to lovers. I love it when they hate each other. You know one thing?
Toxic girl.
You know one thing? I mean, I don't think that's...
It's not. I agree.
I don't know if it's toxic, because...
It's not.
When I say enemies to lovers, there has to be a situation where they've secretly liked each other on first sight.
Yeah. But it was like...
something happens to make them be kind of evil to each other. But not truly evil, because with those enemies to lovers tropes, you always see where one of them secretly does something good for the other.
Yeah. I get you. You know
That
what?
gets my blood.
I love that. I love that.
Like,
That's
I love everything about that.
And I think it's one of the easiest and like the most compelling ones to actually tell, because it's like seeing, because there's a lot of development that has to happen for them to both realize and get that switch. So I think that's why it really works. And it's one of my favorite ones, but one I secretly like, because this one I don't secretly like. Yeah, it's not a secret that I love enemy to lovers. One that I actually secretly like is the unlikely, not enemies to lovers. So unlikely in the sense of like almost like he would never pick that kind of girl, or she would never pick that kind of guy. Like an unlikely pair. I actually
can't stand that.
Unlikely pair tropes I secretly like.
Do you know why I can't stand that trope?
Again, it's specific.
Give me an example of unlikely pair.
So unlikely. Okay, this isn't rom-com, but this is like the first thing
just
I think about is Grey's Anatomy. What's this guy? Christian Grey.
Oh Jesus.
50 Shades of Grey.
I know.
Yes.
I can't tell you how much I'm happy you gave that example, because I can't tell you how much I don't like that trope.
Again, I secretly like that, and not necessarily in the context of 50 Shades of Grey, but the idea of like, you feel like
picture together.
Yeah, two people never pictured, or one person secretly feels like, I don't think this person will ever go for me, but the other person is already thinking like, I
can't stand it, because in my personal life, if I felt like somebody would never go for me, I'll close my mind off to them.
Well,
so if I was ever in an unlikely pairing situation, not that I will be, not that I can be, but if I ever was, I would immediately shut that down. It would never materialize into a relationship.
Well,
but
maybe I need to secretly love.
Is that one you openly love?
Because I already said the one I openly. It is the love enemies to lovers trope. But I secretly love when it's an unlikely pair. That's like, okay,
like Fiona and Shrek.
Yeah, there you go. That's an unlikely pair. It's an unlikely pair, but it works, because I'm like, okay, like, and it kind of gives me hope.
And you know what? That brings me to the trope. I've already said the trope I like the least, where I feel like there's this trope in black rom-coms, and it makes me not watch them too much, where a woman is a CEO, she's rich, she's powerful, and she has to settle for the plumber. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being a plumber, but I cannot stand a couple with a wealth disparity. Okay, I need both of them to be doing well in whatever fields, and I'm not saying a plumber is not doing well, but I don't want a situation where one person is living a particular lifestyle, the other one is living a completely different lifestyle. I don't understand how those people could be together. And this is no shade to trade workers. I would rather a man with a job. Make a lot of money, but even if they don't make money, I'd rather a man with an honest job. Listen, I'd rather marry a trade worker than a politician that is stealing money.
Fair enough.
Honestly.
Okay.
Or a fraudster. A fraudster has lots of money. I don't care. If you're not doing work that I can be proud of, I don't care. But for me, I can't stand a lifestyle disparity. It's ridiculous. So it's
lifestyle more than
not even wealth, lifestyle.
And I think that makes sense, regardless of like
where would the princess meet the coffee shop guy? The princess doesn't even go to the coffee shop. How did she meet him?
Right. So
Notting Hill. But I love it in Notting Hill, because back in that day, I feel like it would have been easier for a celebrity to meet, for a Julia Roberts to have met a Hugh Grant in the bookstore.
And mind you, she wasn't in her city, so that's exactly more.
But these
likely.
Days, how is that likely? Cameras are following you everywhere. People have their camera.
Yeah, which is why so different. Which is why so different.
So I can't lie to you. I can't stand to see that kind of thing. I can't stand to see a lifestyle disparity, because the truth is, your lifestyle influences the circle that you're around. You're not likely to meet somebody who is not in your circle. Let's be honest. That's me.
All right, that's the trope that you actually don't like. Anyways, another question would be, what trope do you think needs to die? They need to kill it today. I would say mine whilst you're thinking.
Yeah.
Friends to lovers.
Oh!
Just dead.
And I'm a piggyback off of that. If you're my friend, you can't be my lover. I'm sorry.
Just dead that now. Friends to lovers. I find it so hard. Like it's hard going from platonic friends to romantic. Like it's so hard to sell. Yeah. Just dead. Don't even. There's no point. Just leave it as is. Please. There's a reason why we're platonic friends to start with. Yeah. Like we didn't find each other attractive from the start. Then let's not try. Yeah. Let's not even attempt it. Yeah. So friends to lovers needs to just die.
And we mean genuine platonic, not the platonic friends who are pretending to be friends. But
no. I mean, like, we no attraction.
You genuinely see each other as brother and sister,
and then we now try to change it one day. Like, that makes no sense. It's like, absolutely not.
I can't stand it in reality too, because sometimes you see a social media post and they talk about how they were friends for years, and then the woman talks about how the man essentially started to wear her down and she started to consider him, especially when other relationships.
Not the wear down part. Jeez.
I'm just saying, I don't like the idea of you wearing down your friend into dating you. It's somehow,
and I know that there have been relationships where it's like, oh, we're friends first, but there's a difference between like where you were friends, but you always sort of kind of had a thing for each other, and it was just
that's different.
That's very different.
I love that.
Yes, so that one's different. But where we're talking like you said, very almost sibling, like very. And
then you start to like each other one day. You people can't,
because it will be unbalanced. Yeah, that's the thing. It's there's never a situation. It's not real. There will never be a situation where we were both literally just platonic friends, and both at the same time decided that no, we want to make.
Do you feel one person is settling?
Yes, one person will definitely be settling, because there's no way your feelings can be like that for each other at the same time.
It's the woman. When I see those relationships, I automatically assume that the woman has had a lot of relationships. The relationships fail. And this male friend has now convinced her to settle for him. Yeah. Okay, so let's not get into that.
That needs to die. So, what's final verdict? Which one would you rather, the new style or the old style?
I'm gonna rewatch all the old movies on my list. I wouldn't know where to start with a new one. The only new one I've enjoyed in recent times was Your Christmas or Mine, but that was a Christmas movie. They were both Christmas movies and very family oriented, and I find British people extremely funny. So other than that, I'm not gonna do the new stuff. What about
you? Still, I mean, so they have some good new stuff, and because Proposal is, in my opinion,
let's stick to the 2020s.
Still in the new stuff. I will give credit to some of the new stuff, because there's stuff that I've seen lately. I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually really cute. But just in general, like, I would actually rather just watch the older things, because they are more comforting than what we have now. And I'm in an era where I'm looking for what will comfort me more than what will stress me out. I'm not looking to like roll my eyes at a movie right now. So I would gravitate towards the older things. Okay, that brings us to the end of this episode. Final verdict is that romance and like rom-coms in general, I think, like, and I think you said this earlier, is that they really just are instructive, right? That's why we like them. They sort of teach you, they're like an emotional blueprint. And I remember you saying in the beginning that it taught you how to sort of how to date, right? So
qualities to like in a person.
Exactly. And that's what these rom-coms sort of are. They are this emotional blueprint, and that's why we gravitate towards them. They might not be completely dead right now, because what we do have now is really instructive of what the dating scene and what romance looks like in this day and age. So romance is not necessarily dead, or rom-coms aren't dead. Yeah, it's just sort of evolving. Yeah, you can.
They aren't dead, but I think there is an opportunity to wake them up a little bit. And this is going to fall to you guys, the studios and the writers. I think the writers of these movies, or writers of rom-coms, you guys have a very important role in society, in the sense that in the lens of our current reality, you guys can actually write things that will make sense to modern dating, and even help people who are currently dating navigate that better. I do feel like we mentioned some of these movies are cultural moments. You guys, the writers of the movies, you set those cultural moments.
Yeah. So we just need to believe again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. If you've gotten to this part of the episode, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and of course, follow us on all social media platforms, where we'll keep the conversation going.
Yes.
Until next time, this has been Read It, Watch It, and sometimes just believe again.
Yes.